Hello and welcome to Cereal at Midnight. My name is Heath. Can you hear the bells? Ling, ling, ling. So we got a 4K review, a quick 4K review for you for The Polar Express, which has just arrived on the 4K Ultra HD format from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. So in this 4K movie review, I want to talk a little bit about The Polar Express as a movie. What do we think about it? And then we'll talk about the technical presentation here. How does this movie fare in its upgrade from, regular HD to 4K Ultra HD? The Polar Express as a movie, I really like the book. The book is this tight, concise little thing that takes about 5 minutes to read, maybe 10. Picture book. And at the end, I like the message too. Like, do you hear the bells? But the movie is another thing. How do you take a relatively short children's picture book, and blow it up into an hour and 40-minute movie that cost $165 million to make in 2004? Big. How do you do that? Well, you fill it with all sorts of things. You fill it with a lot of business. You fill it with songs about hot chocolate. You fill it with, oh, we gotta get the coal in the train. The train's not gonna make it on time. You create these things that just propel things forward. I was a full-blown adult when this came out. Not only was I a full-blown adult, I was married when The Polar Express was released. So for me, this has always been just a little bit distant. It's been out of my grasp because, there's something to be said for the things you grew up with versus the things that come to you when you're fully formed as a human being, right? But I asked my daughter, my 16-year-old teenage daughter, about this, who's always known The Polar Express. And I said, what do you think about The Polar Express? Not leading her one way or the other. How do you relate to The Polar Express? And she said, I like it, but I don't connect with it like I do with Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which have those are timeless. This is okay, but I don't really like to watch it very often. I was like, well, that's interesting because that's kind of how I feel about it. And I think that's maybe a common theme among some people, but I want to know what you think about that. Leave your comments below in the comments below. I think the thing about the Polar Express is that it relies so heavily on this motion capture technology that it is forever a product of a specific time. And the technology, I don't know that it was really there. I don't know that it was quite ready. When this came into review, I showed it to Bree, my wife, and she said, oh, dead eyes. Because that's how we think. Everyone has dead eyes. It's an eerie thing. It's this unintentionally almost ominous thing. Things that are supposed to be maybe heartwarming take on sort of a chilling quality. And if the music was a little bit different, switch that music over into a minor chord, it's almost ominous, right? So, Robert Zemeckis was really relying on this technology. This was all the rage back in the time. Seeing this movie, this thing got released in 35. I think it got released in 35 millimeter. I think it got a 70 millimeter release. Did it get I think it got a 3D presentation too, because this was around the time when they were like, hey, it can be in 3D. And I just don't think that for me, it doesn't really hold up because it's so unique and it's rooted in this particular place in time. But whereas I love things like the Rankin Bass specials, we're talking about Rudolph and Frosty and things like that, those are so stylized that they feel timeless. A kid doesn't know that Rudolph was shot 60 years ago essentially. Because it doesn't feel, nobody's wearing bell bottoms or anything like that. It's the part where they sing incense and peppermints. But this does feel very rooted in early to mid 2000s. And so for me, that's a distance, that's a barrier. It's always just a little bit out of grasp. I love the book, but the movie for me, it doesn't really work. So I don't watch it very often. Similarly, we got that Christmas Carol movie with Jim Carrey. Same thing. It doesn't really work for me. It's not something that I want to spend my time in that world. But here's the other thing that could happen, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. Sometimes these movies take on a life of their own and they become like unintentional. Camp is not the word that I necessarily want to use, but I think there maybe is an element of camp to this. And I don't mean like, Meatballs camp, not like summer camp. I mean like camp, like Batman 1966. Like, holy Polar Express Batman. Like it takes on a quality that has life beyond its intention. And maybe that's the case here. It has this unintentional kitsch quality because of how it looks. Maybe is this going to be like the future Santa Claus Conquers the Martians for, in 20 years? What is your guys' relationship with the Polar Express? That's what I really want to know. This is my opinion, but I want to know what you guys think. All that really matters is now that this has been brought to 4K, how does it look? Well, surprisingly, and I say surprisingly because I didn't think, I believe, so Warner Brothers doesn't tell people what the sources for their restorations are. They don't say, well, this was sourced from a 4K scan of the original 70 millimeter print. They don't say things like that. We don't know, so we kind of have to guess. I believe that the Polar Express was probably mastered and finished in 2K. But we're talking about 2004, guys, right? So I think that the 4K technology was like most movies now. Most of your Spider-Mans and your Marvel movies are finished in 2K because of the computer technology required. I think this was probably finished in 2K or maybe even less. So it's probably an upscale. That being said, there is a noticeable jump between the Blu-ray and the 4K. And this is a new Blu-ray. This is not the Blu-ray that we all... That's been on the market since, was it 2007, I think is when the Blu-ray came out, the first Blu-ray. We got the 4K, and we've got the Blu-ray here. The new Blu-ray has all the special features. Everything from the previous edition has been ported over. I don't think there's anything new here, but they haven't left anything off either. But the 4K is just the film, with taking up the full disc so that it can breathe. And it is a noticeable jump. I'm going to use my dark chocolate analogy here. If you see anybody else using the dark chocolate analogy, you say, hey, you took that from Cereal at Midnight. It's mine. The dark chocolate analogy is that the 4K transfer looks like the Blu-ray transfer, but it's like dark chocolate. It's darker and richer and a little bit more intense. 4K transfers are often darker because they're tapping into the HDR. Blu-rays by nature are just a little bit brighter. That's the marketing of a Blu-ray is like, boom, it's this bright, clear, beautiful experience. 4Ks have a lot more nuance, so it is darker. There is a tendency towards gold and orange and brown, that warm thing, like, well, we're sitting by the fire, isn't it fun? And it has a richer, more intense visual presentation. I like it. I think that the 4K definitely does look better than the Blu-ray. Your mileage may vary, but for me, this is a very nice 4K transfer. There's no signs whatsoever of film grain. Actually, I take that back. There's a few shots where I'm like, is that film grain? But due to the due to the nature of this production, film grain is not really a part of the conversation here because it's so digital and it's so created within a computer. I don't know how did they transfer that to film. You know, where is this being sourced from? Again, we don't know. I don't see grain. I like grain. I don't see grain. But it is like, if you're a Polar Express fan, you're going to be very, very happy with this. And because the previous Blu-ray is so old and relies on technology and codecs and things that aren't really the standard anymore, I feel very happy and I heartily endorse this new edition. If you're not 4K capable, remember you are getting the Blu-ray and the 4K for when you do get your new 4K setup. Your next setup will be a 4K setup, because that's just how technology works. So I don't know. I'm fairly happy with the presentation. It's not a movie that I love, but I cannot deny that this looks pretty groovy on 4K. So what do you guys think about the movie? What do you think about... Hey, it's a showcase for Tom Hanks, right? If nothing else, America's sweetheart Tom Hanks gets to just try all kinds of different things out here. Singing, dancing, motion capture Tom Hanks. Ain't nothing else like it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Guys, the Polar Express is available right now. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video. So you can click down, just scroll down, click it. You'll be supporting Cereal at Midnight, and you'll be hearing the bells. Guys, thanks so much. Take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.